Hello guys, welcome back to NHL Rumor Roundup. My name's Nathan and this is the show where I discuss the biggest and latest NHL rumors that you need to hear about. Now today we have some hot rumors to talk about. One about Taylor Hall and a bunch of new updates surrounding him, and the other being Alex Galchenyuk, him being put on the trade block by the Pens, and the potential trades that could happen for him. But what are the latest trade rumors in the NHL right now, and what are the rumors that you need to hear about right this instant? Watch till the end and subscribe if you're new. Now we're first going to touch on the Taylor Hall situation, that probably being the most important, I would say. And in the new Saturday headlines, Hockey Night in Canada on Sportsnet, Chris Johnson was with Elliotte Friedman as well as Ron McLean as they discussed a lot about this situation. And there was a lot of new news and tidbits that are definitely worthy of being heard. The first one came from Chris Johnson, where it said that it could take as many as 4 pieces to get a guy like Taylor Hall from New Jersey. Also, that a deal could be done before Christmas break before December 19th. So a trade could happen pretty soon, and that the Colorado Avalanche might just be the favorite. Now, Johnston ends up saying that the Colorado Avalanche are indeed the favorites for Taylor Hall, and that a trade called to Colorado could happen before that December break, again, December 19th. And that's right now just in like 10 days he could be traded. It could be that early. And it makes sense, because personally before, I thought Taylor Hall at the earliest would get traded in January, and that would be final. But it's seeming like with Colorado, they will want to pull the trigger very early, which I think makes sense for a team like them specifically. We've seen with a lot of different deadline deal trades that the player going to that great team doesn't really end up gelling all that much. I kind of look back till like 2017 when Shannon Kirk went to the Washington Capitals. He never really was quite a fit there until like the second round or the first round of the playoffs at that point. And that's a problem as well for some teams. And for a team like Colorado, who will bring in Taylor Hall for quite possibly a huge price, they want to get him as early as possible to get that gel time with McKinnon, to get all that chemistry with the rest of the team. Now, it was also discussed by them that Bowen Byram would be the piece that New Jersey really targets, which makes sense. But in this scenario, New Jersey getting 4 different assets, there's no way they get 4 different assets as well as Bowen Byram in that trade. It just is unrealistic and would never happen, even if Colorado were to re-sign him, and even if they did have the money for that too. But in a situation like that, I think New Jersey is going to want Bowen Byram, but I think they will likely have to go satisfied for guys like Connor Timmins, Alex Newhook potentially in a first-round pick, which is enough for New Jersey, I think, especially trading a guy like Hall, who hasn't been all that impactful on their team. And there's no real rush for New Jersey, I think, which is the reason why I don't feel a trade will automatically happen in December. New Jersey doesn't have to pull out a trade right now. They could wait until the best thing possible. But Colorado, in this position, could have the most offers on the table. Again, you look at a guy like Bowen Byram, you look at him and say he would never get traded, but for Colorado, a team who wants to win the Stanley Cup now and this year, while Nathan McKinnon still has that beautiful contract, it makes a lot more sense now saying that. But while it makes more sense, it still doesn't make a ton of sense for Colorado to trade a guy like Bowen Byram, who will be such a big piece alongside Cale Makar on that defense. I personally wouldn't, but for a team like Colorado, who's in that position of winning that Stanley Cup as much as humanly possible, they saw how their division, the team in St. Louis, did it last year, and they want to be able to do it this year as well. And if you add a guy like Taylor Hall to that team, who's healthy, who's ready to go, he hasn't had much playoff experience, but he can help you in so many different ways. And while he isn't depth scoring, he can add a lot more scoring to that team, especially alongside Nathan McKinnon. And while all signs point to Colorado being the favorites, and I agree in that statement, I wouldn't count out other teams like St. Louis, Dallas, Montreal, or even the Edmonton Oilers, because all those teams, I think, could all be in on him. We saw the Arizona Coyotes, who were looked at as maybe the favorite for him just like a few days back. So the market is always changing, but I do agree with the Colorado Avalanche being the most likely fit for him and likely the favorite at this point, with how many great prospects they have in their system. They're a great team that could use a guy like Taylor Hall too, and New Jersey could use a lot of the young players they have in their system. I think it would be a win-win if Taylor Hall were to go to Colorado. Maybe not if Bowen Byram is involved for Colorado, but I think Taylor Hall is a target that they've wanted for a very long time, and I think before even 2020, we could see them pull the trigger. But Taylor Hall isn't just the only scoring forward that's in the rumors today. In this same segment for Saturday headlines, Hockey Night in Canada, Chris Johnson and Elliotte Friedman were both talking about Alex Galchenyuk and the Pittsburgh Penguins now probably officially putting him on the trade block. It was discussed by Jim Rutherford via The Athletic about different things here and there, and Elliotte Friedman pretty much confirmed that Alex Galchenyuk pretty much will be the next Penguin traded. He said after the team gets fully healthy and they get some of their forwards back, Alex Galchenyuk won't really be a part of that team and won't really have a big fit there, which could mean he could get traded even before the trade deadline. Now, this all stems from an article by Josh Yohe of The Athletic, where he said that Galchenyuk would have to work super hard and would have to play super great in order to keep a roster spot, even a roster spot on this Penguins team. In the next few weeks, they'll have Crosby, Hornquist, and others, as well as Bukestad coming back from injury, and that could prevent Galchenyuk from getting any playing time on Pittsburgh. Now, so far, he's been able to get 10 points in 19 games. Not bad whatsoever. But right now, he's playing just less than 10 minutes per game, and he just doesn't seem to be a fit on the Pittsburgh Penguins, just like he wasn't a fit with the Arizona Coyotes. But one team that was mentioned as a huge team to go after a guy like that was the Buffalo Sabres. And this would just be peak Sabres if they ended up paying a huge price for a guy like Alex Galchenyuk, who has yet to produce since he was with the Montreal Canadiens. But I think it does make sense. With the Buffalo Sabres, they've been rumored to go after a top 9 forward for a very long time, basically since the start of the season in trade rumors. But a guy like Alex Galchenyuk could fit that role. It's obvious he's not a first-line player anymore, and he hasn't been that basically since his first few years with Montreal. But with a team like Buffalo, that could be a real new start. Not just on Pittsburgh, where he barely gets any playing time, but on a team like Buffalo, who right now is sliding in the standings, could totally use an offensive guy like that, who, yes, is terrible defensively, but can score goals for them at least. But on a team like Buffalo, Alex Galchenyuk could go from bottom 6 minutes with Pittsburgh to a team that can give him top 6 minutes as well as power play time and playing time alongside guys like potentially Jack Eichel, which would definitely be a lot better than he has right now, even on a Pittsburgh Penguins team that has that many great players. And the thing is that he hasn't been a fit wherever he's been traded to. He was really barely a fit with Montreal too, even when he was at the top of his game. And that's a problem for a guy who's been a 3rd overall pick, has attitude problems. I'm not sure the weight on those, but he has a pedigree of not really being all too consistent and not being too great defensively. It's obvious the Buffalo Sabres are just desperate at this point for some more help on that forward group, but Alex Galchenyuk could be a guy that does more damage than good. The Arizona Coyotes have learned that, and the Pittsburgh Penguins have learned that too. But besides a team like the Buffalo Sabres, I really don't see there being much interest across the NHL in a guy like Galchenyuk. So far, he's had 2 different chances to make it work besides Montreal with Arizona and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it hasn't worked out for either of them. And besides a team who's super desperate like the Buffalo Sabres, I just don't see the league-wide interest really being there. Obviously, there will be some teams checking in to see what the asking price is, as any smart team would do. But in a situation like Alex Galchenyuk, I think there's going to be a lot of teams out there that have their red flags, and rightfully so, and a lot of teams that are just not going to be willing to give that chance again to it. Now, one last trade rumor that I wanted to touch on was a fairly big one surrounding the Maple Leafs and a potential backup goalie trade. Now, this came from Elliotte Friedman saying on Sportsnet 590, he said this: "They're in a really tough spot, but I find it impossible to believe that they haven't looked into dealing for a goalie." End quote. And that is pretty big news, because with the Toronto Maple Leafs, it seems like they've been wanting to find a solution to that backup goalie situation for a very long time. We initially saw Garrett Sparks, and then all these different goalies and guys like Curtis McElhinney, and this year they're trying to find out what Michael Hutchinson has, which has not been all that great. He has like an .876 save percentage, so it's obvious that Toronto is looking for better goaltending and an actual backup goalie for Freddie Andersen. Now, Brian Burke, also on Sportsnet 590, said this about the whole situation. It's beyond price. You're going to have to overpay. And I would do that. And if Kyle does that, I will not criticize him. If he has to give up a second-round pick or a good kid to solve this issue, because this is their Achilles heel. This is a fatal flaw for this team making the playoffs if they don't address this. Now, there's been a few backup goalies that have been swirling around the Toronto Maple Leafs, but one goalie that I see mentioned a ton is Alexandar Georgiev of the New York Rangers. Now, you guys know I like the Leafs and the Rangers quite a bit, and I love me some Alexandar Georgiev. But the thing is with Toronto is that I don't think it's going to be just a second-round pick that they give up, because in a case like Georgiev, he has been under such a bad defense, and he's played relatively fantastic in my opinion. I think he's been one of the most underrated goalies too. I don't think you're going to have to give up just a second-round pick, because I think New York thinks he's almost the future, which I think he can be, especially after Henrik Lundqvist is gone. I think Georgiev could take that over, and if not, they have Shesterkin in their AHL system. But that's a guy that New York heavily values. And I think Toronto should go after a backup goalie, but I'm not sure if Georgiev is a fit there, because I don't think he really is the guy. He might be a fantastic backup goalie, but you would have to give up a ton of assets for him for just a backup goalie. But besides Georgiev, a goaltender that I think could play very well for the Toronto Maple Leafs is a guy on Chicago like Colin Delia. He was called up for a few games for Chicago, I think 16 if I'm remembering correctly last year, and he played pretty well in one of the worst defenses in the NHL, and that's a guy that I think Toronto could use. While he hasn't put up the greatest stats in the AHL so far, I think he'd be a pretty fantastic upgrade over Hutchison. But it's obvious that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to target this backup situation, and they're going to make some decisions sooner than later, because this is a situation that is kind of haunting them a little bit. Freddie Anderson is fantastic, and I think has been Toronto's best player this season, but you can't depend on him to do that throughout the regular season and the whole playoffs as well, which for Toronto has only been the first round these past couple of years. You need a backup goalie who can put some stress off the starting goalie and can actually, you know, win some hockey games, which Michael Hutchison has not been able to do. But for Toronto, I don't think it's their biggest Achilles heel, but it should be something they do address. And even if it is a guy like Georgiev, even if they do overpay for a guy like that, I'd still be pretty happy about that. But that'll be it for the rumors in today's NHL Rumor Roundup. Let me know down in the comments down below, boys, what you think about the rumors today. What do you think about Al Hall potentially going to the Avalanche, Alex Galchenyuk to the Buffalo Sabres, and the Leafs' whole goalie situation? Let me know what trades you think will happen and why down in those comments down below. But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, y'all should click on this card right here to watch my video about Shane Gostisbehere to the Montreal Canadiens and why that whole trade scenario makes 0 sense. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on the trade rumors discussed today and what you think of them as well. Share this video with your friends. Get the trade rumors out there, boys. The next trade's happening in the NHL. My name's Nathan, and I'll see y'all next video or stream. Goodbye.